Good evening, folks, and welcome to Here's the Deal. My name is Shilo, and of course, I got my trusted co-host with me, Mr. Marv. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you doing tonight, Shiloh?
Doing pretty good. So I had a sleep study last night, and it's been the first one I've had in almost 20 years. And so they hooked me up and all this stuff, and I actually had a pretty good sleep last night. I feel pretty good tonight still, so it must be working.
I know your secret because Angel said you never use your CPAP machine at home, and maybe if you used it, you'd sleep. So,
well, she ain't wrong. I can't argue that point, but yeah, my mask and everything it doesn't work anymore, and so I ended up having to go in and do a new sleep study, and yeah, it went really well. So at any rate, it's about what I know this evening. I feel a lot better than I have been in the last few weeks, so few months actually. So
good. You look like you got a little pep in your step.
yeah, I feel like it. So, but we've got District 14 on tonight.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah,
excited to have them on. 3 new candidates for District 14 have come up. Their current representation has been there for a very long time. So I'm excited to have some fresh faces. That's for sure. Real quick, I don't know if you saw it, Shiloh, but Julie Fedorchak announced that she's running for the U.S. House.
I did see that.
Originally, she was considering governor, but it looks like the only one that we have right now for governor, we have Kelly, Tammy Miller officially announced, and Michael Coachman. So we have 3 there.
Gotcha.
That'll be interesting. And 3 for U.S. House, which will be really interesting to see what they do there as well. So
you bet. Well, we'll talk a little bit more about that in our closing thoughts.
Yep.
You want to introduce our guests for the evening?
Yeah. So tonight we have Karisa, we have Larry, and we have Jason all joining us from District 14. Let's get them added on here. And I think in true tradition, if you guys don't mind, we'll let Karisa go first for the ladies first here to just introduce yourself, and then we'll move on to Jason and go with Larry, and then after that, talk about some goals for the future for your guys' district.
Well, I guess I'll start. I'm Karisa Grothe. I'm running for the state Senate seat in District 14.
My name is Jason Steidl. I'm running for a House seat. Excuse me. I'm an electrician. I live in Driscoll, about 30 miles east of Bismarck.
Hi, my name is Larry Danduran from New Rockford, and I'm running for a House seat in District 14 also.
Awesome. And what part of your district are you from, Larry?
I'm from New Rockford, which would be Eddy County.
Oh, Eddy County. Okay, perfect. So 3 new faces, obviously running for a reason. What kind of brought you guys all together to say, hey, we're going to do this?
Boy, that's a good question. Jason, you and I kind of ran the circuit and the fairs this summer.
Well, it kind of started out when Jason and I were election judges together in Wing. And we got along really well and had some similar thoughts at the primary. And then we worked the general election together and realized we could probably become pretty good friends. And Jason was interested in getting more involved. So I introduced him to District 14, and he has been extremely active ever since. And with us sharing same goals, and brought Larry in through the District 14 leadership team. And then they did the fairs together. So it was kind of an interesting little circle how we all came together.
Well, that's really awesome. And then you guys are looking for your district's endorsement this Sunday, correct?
That is correct. We're going to be in Steele, Pfeiffer Auctions building, and registration at noon, and dinner or lunch will be served at 1.
Awesome.
2 p.m.
All
the
right.
convention starts. So
Yeah, Shilo, you got the scroll there. Steele has a E after that L.
oh goodness,
I know you said you had some sleep.
I should have Googled that part too, right? Goodness, what a knucklehead. I'll get
So-
it.
Jason mentioned he was an electrician. Larry, what do you do for a living?
Well, currently I am managing a Chevrolet dealership in Carrington, North Dakota, Bassett Motors. And my ex-wife and I used to have a dealership years ago in New Rockford, and through that housing crunch, and there was quite, you probably remember when the stock market and so forth kind of went south.
Mhm.
General Motors was thinning out a lot of dealerships at that time, and we ended up being part of that process. So after that, I went into carpentry and enjoyed that, but somehow I got drawn back in the car business, and I certainly enjoy it. However, I do miss working for myself, I've got to say.
Yeah.
Well, I get the pull for automotive. I've been doing it for a decade, so I know where you're at.
Yeah.
And then, Karisa, what about you?
I worked in financial planning for about 18 years, and then I helped my husband with our construction business for a few years prior to moving to Minnesota. And I'm working part-time just for a friend of ours at a small company in Bismarck at the moment. And we run a fishing business, so my husband stays really busy with that.
Nice. Like guided tours or?
Well, no, he's not a guide. He is a tournament fisherman. So he does a lot of promotional things, and then he fishes tournaments, and so do my boys.
Oh, that's pretty awesome. Gets a
It's
chance to get around.
Yeah, I was a fishing roadie too. I should probably put that on my resume. I've always preferred to be on the other side of the camera. I'm always the one taking the video, and I really enjoyed that life. I really wasn't on my resume to want to get involved in something so social and so out there, but someone has to do this stuff. We really need to get involved, and that's why I stepped up. So now I'm on the other side of the camera, which I'm not sure about that.
I'm still not sure about it. So.
Fair enough. You bet. So with that being said, what can your constituents, what can they expect to get from you as you, let's say after election day and you're elected, what can your constituents expect from you? Like,
Well, I'll start.
what
I
are
mean,
your
one of
goals?
my goals is to really get involved with people and start listening and talking to everyone. I've kind of come to this conclusion that politics really isn't necessarily about exactly what I think or believe. I mean, if it's representative of my district or my state, that's what's most important. And I'm really looking forward to being engaged. I think this district has been ignored and treated badly. I can just say from like the last convention and how I was treated by our legislators, I knew that I would be part of the plan to help vote them out. I just never realized it would be me sitting here on shows like this and doing something like this. So I just really wanted to be part of the plan. But I mean, when they ignore people and they treat people and belittle us, and it's just time for a change.
Yeah, I agree.
We've had a couple combative years, so I know where you're at.
Yeah.
How about Jason? How about you?
Well, like I said, I'm an electrician by trade. I only just got involved in politics really last year.
Mhm.
So I'm a big on freedom and constitutional government. What I've been talking to a lot of people in our district, like Karisa said, it's a large district. A lot of people don't feel represented. A lot of people don't feel like their voice is heard. I don't have any real, again, as to build on Carissa's point, I don't have any real agenda other than I would like to return to a constitutional government across the board. I would like limited government. I'd like some financial fiscal responsibility, and granted, I'm not going to be the guy that brings about that change, but if enough of us can get in, I think that over the course of time, if it is possible, we could turn this around.
Mm-hmm. How about you, Larry?
Well, for me, I feel like what we've experienced in the last 4 years has really been an eye-opener for a lot of us in our district. We've been giving up so many liberties, and particularly through COVID, I feel like it's just been one maneuver after another, and it's time that we stand up and roll back some of these policies that have been initiated. We can talk about property rights and what they've done with this CO2 carbon sequestration program and so forth. I mean, I find it interesting that our legislators claim to be not just in our district, but in our state. They claim to be conservative Republicans, but yet they keep rolling policies out that are really in contradiction of what it is to be a Republican.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and if you guys look to your neighbors to the southeast, District 26, Erbely, Brandenburg, and Greenwich all released a statement a couple months ago in support of the Summit pipeline, and like it's out there. It's rolling right through your guys' backyard too, isn't it?
It's about a half a mile from my house. And it actually skirts me on the other side when it heads south. So I've kind of got it actually on two sides.
Yeah, and the sad part about it is that so much of the population has been hoodwinked on the fact that CO2 to believe that it's a pollutant. And honestly, if you just look back at basic chemistry, biology when we were in high school, I mean, CO2 is plant food. And when you understand the fact that it is literally a trace element in our atmosphere, I think current number levels are around 400 parts per million, which is actually less than 0.5% of our atmosphere. This is not something we need to fear at all. In fact, knowing that it's plant food, I'm surprised that every farmer in the nation isn't pounding the hood of their tractor on the idea of putting it in the ground.
Yeah, well, from what I've been hearing from farmers, their newer tractors, they're busy worrying about what they're doing with their DEF systems on them.
Yeah, this is true. This is true.
Jason's laughing over there too. He knows what's up.
Yeah,
my stepdad has a diesel pickup. He's a retired farmer, and he's always struggling with this DEF fluid. I don't think it necessarily makes a lot of sense, but I've never had a diesel, but I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and like you guys are across 6 counties, I think is what you said. So we have Eddy, we got chunks of Burley, we got Kidder. You guys are Wells County too, correct? Is Wells. You guys are just to the side of you.
No, Wells and Sheridan and Kidder, part of Burley. It was all of Pierce until this latest redistricting they're doing with the Chippewa and Sioux reservation. So it looks like they took part of Pierce. It would include Leeds and so forth.
They got sued for that, so they got to fix that.
And Benson, they took a little bit off of Benson too, didn't they, Larry, by Leeds?
Yep. Eddy County had already had part of that county was part of the district with the Fort Totten reservation, but it encompasses a lot of counties, and you think about all the land and that it encompasses. I mean, it's a large geographical area to keep track of, literally. But
so
go ahead, Shilo.
I was going to say, let's come back to the property rights and CO2 pipeline in a bit. I'm curious to know when you guys were out doing the parades and different things and kind of putting your plan together, and what were people telling you? What are their issues that they'd like to see changed? What are people talking about in your district?
You want to take that, Jason?
Well, I thought maybe you'd start with that, Larry. You're a much more talkative person than I am, and I'll just add to it when something comes up.
Well, what comes to mind, Jason, when we were we're up at the Pierce County Fair, we met a lot of parents that were homeschooling that were really interested in education, and I think homeschooling is one thing that needs to be addressed, but the other thing is we really need to focus on our public school system. I mean, the kids aren't getting the education that we're paying for, in my opinion. We got to get back to basics, and obviously there was a huge setback through COVID with this distant learning. But I think as a result of that, they just had a convention this last couple days. The homeschooling convention, I believe, is growing quite large.
My wife was there today for a little bit and says that it's pretty amazing. She just got to walk through the exhibit hall a little bit. They didn't get to see any of the speakers, but she said it was quite amazing to see. And so I think they're gonna go and do some more tomorrow when they get back. But at any rate, we just had the homeschool association on Tuesday, and so that was eye-opening for me as well. So
It was a great event. I was there today.
there
was a lot of people there. Mm-hmm.
That's what my wife said. She said it was
felt like a Patriot convention. Yeah.
She said there's a lot of people there, and honestly, she felt that it was worth paying the membership that she paid for to be a member, and then also the gate fee that she'd paid today to get in. But she felt that it was, even though she was only there for 45 minutes, she felt very strong about it, and they're actually going to be coming through Bismarck again tomorrow on their way home, and she'll be stopping there again. So, but at any rate, so education is obviously a big issue. What else are you guys hearing?
I'll go, Larry, I guess. Speaking to the fairs, a lot of people that took the time that came up and talked to us, like Larry said, are just regular people. Mm-hmm. They're all fed up with feeling like nobody's listening to them in the government. Everybody's fed up with what's happening in the federal government. Everybody feels powerless to do anything about it. Taxes is always a big issue. My major deal is just the erosion of our rights. We're constantly fighting for our Second Amendment rights, our First Amendment rights. It's constantly under attack. Everybody that we talked to, and granted, there were people who, when they saw that we were a Republican booth, would just, not look at us and keep walking. But for the most part, everybody was very receptive, and everybody's really kind of on the same page. Everybody's just tired of feeling like it's no longer a government of the people, by the people, and for the people, and it slowly seems to be eroding into some sort of tyrannical dictatorship.
I'd agree.
One other issue that came up quite often is the amount of financial resources that the state is piling up with the legacy fund and with the land trust and so forth. And in our district, I think a lot of our constituents are not seeing any benefit to this. We had supposedly a prairie dog fund project, and it sounds like that bucket of money just keeps getting shoved farther and farther down the priority list, and we're not seeing the benefits of it. So that is, I think, a big concern. People would like to see, they're aware of the kind of money that's piling up in this legacy fund, and they're not seeing any benefit from it.
Well, I just saw a poll earlier this week. I don't even know who released it, so take it with a grain of salt, but they said 59% of North Dakotans polled would like to see the legacy fund used to eliminate property tax, which I don't know if you guys feel that in your district, but I do know that there's been a lot of move away from rural, which, I mean, small business programs being eliminated, rural technology stuff being eliminated just in this last session by a couple bills brought forward by a District 30 rep. So, like, I'm from a small town originally. Granted, I graduated through Bismarck, but like, we can't wait to be rural again. And to see how much is being eliminated where you guys are at is nuts. And I can get behind that 100%. Like, I want to see small schools grow. I want to see small towns grow. I want to see that innovation out there, because we're in North Dakota. We just want to be free. Leave us alone.
Yeah, there's no doubt. And, one that's affecting part of our district, and I'm in Carrington, which is Foster County, and it's going right up through our county right now, is this Red River water supply project that they're trying to do. They proposed that, I guess, was a $1.1 billion projected project, again, to get water from the western part of the state to the eastern part of the state. And if you look kind of back through North Dakota history, we started with the Garrison Diversion, which hasn't done anything. And then it was the McCluskey Canal. And now we're dealing with this Red River Valley water supply project. And through all this time, we've been flaring off a tremendous amount of natural gas in the western part of our state. And it's really not being used in our district. In fact, there's only one community in our district, which is New Rockford, that's serviced by natural gas. And it would seem to me this would be a priority, because inexpensive energy is key to community growth. These small communities would really benefit by having cheap energy. You want small businesses to develop, this is fundamental. So I think there's a lot we can do to kind of spark the growth in this rural part of our state.
So 6 counties, you guys have a lot of traveling to do. What's kind of your plan coming up this summer, leading up to primary, or after primary, leading all the way to November?
Well, our main objective, obviously, is to win the endorsement of the district committee. After that, it's a full court press for the next 4 months, because the real battle is at the primary. We've been informed that whether or not our existing legislators win the endorsement, that they will petition to be on the ballot against us regardless. So that's the major fight for the next 4 months, getting to all 7 of these counties, getting to all the towns that we can get to, talking to as many people as we can to get them motivated. Because I don't know about Larry and Carissa's experience, but I would say at best 14% of the people that I talk to have any interest in politics or doing anything or getting involved in any way. They're all good to complain about the government and what's going on, but very few people want to do anything to change it. So we're just going to kind of run around like a bunch of maniacs for the next 3-4 months and knock on doors. Once we win the primary,
Jason and I have had this conversation. We were looking for an older economical car to just turn into road warriors, because we're going to bounce all around this district and get the word out. And now, of course, Carissa's going to be with us now. So she was kind of late to get on board with us, but boy, we're blessed to have her.
Well, you know what you need to find, Larry?
Find
yourself a 04 Buick LeSabre with the 3.8 Series 2 in it.
That's what I got.
In fact,
my second one.
That's exact.
The plant guys love those things just because you can just drive and drive and drive, and they just run like champions.
Yeah.
Well, I kind of found a little honey hole for those too down in the Phoenix Valley. A lot of people retire down there and elderly, and those you get on Craigslist down there. There's a good selection.
Well, there you go. There's the campaign car of champions.
No doubt.
So right now, to speak more to your question, we've been communicating with some patriots up in the Rugby area. And once we win the endorsement, we're going to start possibly having like I don't know what you would call it, a town hall or a meet and greet or just some kind of little event, maybe 100 people, whatever we can get, maybe a little barbecue, kind of an informal thing, and just give people a chance to talk to us, meet us, tell us what their issues are, and just get to know the constituents.
Mhm.
That's awesome.
So if you guys don't win the endorsement, are you still gonna petition them to be on the ballot and keep
That's
going?
a question we'll have to answer after the endorsing convention.
Okay.
I can't speak for my colleagues. We'll have to talk about it then, I guess. I don't know.
We're prepared for Sunday. Let's just put it this way. Yeah, I think we've got some solid speeches. And like I shared with you guys before the program, we have a really solid grassroots program going on in this district. There are individuals from all throughout the multiple counties that are engaging with us on a weekly basis, through phone calls or whatever. I feel very optimistic, and I don't want to be too over optimistic, but I think we're postured to do well on Sunday.
Well, and 3 years ago or so, didn't you guys replace your entire district board?
That is true. That is true. And that is the core. That is the core that's still there to this day, that have we've been building off of. I remember when I was first approached. In fact, when I kind of got involved, I had reached out on the state level. This was when, after the 2020 election, I wanted to get involved with the Republican Party, and I reached out to the state, and they basically hit the ignore button on me. They basically said there's going to be redistricting. There's no point. We'll have somebody get a hold of you. They took my name and number, I believe, but there was no contact. And so when the Lincoln Day dinner came up a couple of years ago, one of our local Eddy County residents was real active with the Republican Party and asked my wife, who was a county commissioner, if she would join them at the Lincoln Day dinner. And my wife informed me, "You're talking to the wrong person." She said, "You need to talk to my husband." So that's how I got drawn in. And then, of course, I met some really key individuals, and I shared my concerns, and the subject came up. Would you ever, we can't find anybody to run. I mean, we've got the same 3 legislators that just have been running unopposed, cycle after cycle. And I made the comment, "Be careful what you wish for." They never let me forget that. So
right.
It's been good.
So let's talk about the property rights and the CO2 pipeline and how it's affecting your district. What is it with talking with people? Obviously, they've probably got their own thoughts and stuff on it. So what are you guys hearing as far as the CO2 pipeline?
Well, I've gone to some meetings. I'm in Croft Township. We just had our meeting and sent in the information they needed to before the PSC had their meeting. I think they got it in on time. The only people I have heard of that even think it's an okay idea are the people that are getting paid. So if it's going across their land, they seem, pretty interested in it. And the rest of us are concerned about safety and property values. Insurability is another issue. I'm hearing from pretty valid people that insurance could be dropped. So the people getting paid it's a benefit, but those of us around them are definitely in risk of not even just our life, but our property values and everything around us. So it's kind of a scary situation, actually. It seems more like a land grab to me. But we'll see if they ever actually even lay any pipe into the ground. It could just be a CO2 scam, too, for all we all know.
Well, and
they're
I
gonna
think
find
that's
them. Go
I
ahead.
think those are the two concerns is there's a safety part of that safety aspect with the actual pipeline going in, but I think more of a concern to me, and maybe I shouldn't say it's more of a concern, but it's just as concerning is the fact that they can come in and just take your land. And I don't think that people are really understanding the full effect of what they're signing over if they do sign a lease. So I think there's multiple problems with this. So when you're
Well,
talking to people, go ahead.
even out where we live,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I'm sorry. Out where we live, it's really hilly. So
Mm-hmm.
there's lots of hills. And for them to only bury it, 3 feet under the ground, and you've got, rolling hills, like there's not going to be erosion and issues, even with a farmer, if they sink into the mud 3 feet,
Mm-hmm.
that they're going to burst the pipe. I mean, it's pretty scary. And I'm not sure that they're even so much studying the terrain that they're trying to put this pipeline through. It's rocky, it's hilly. It just
Yeah.
doesn't even seem like, I can't even believe they would route a pipeline on this kind of terrain.
Mm-hmm. Thus brings in the land grab.
The other thing
Mhm.
that is not really being discussed is the long-term effects of burying this stuff. We don't know what kind of issues that we're going to create for ourselves. There's a cause and effect for everything. And the notion that they're selling this with the assumption they're going to use it for oil extraction. And I'm not denying that there's probably a benefit there. From what I understand, that is really a novel part of what they're doing. If it weren't for the subsidizing the CO2 sequestration, this project wouldn't go anywhere. This is just more of just another tax on the American people.
Well, let's drop a couple misconceptions for the folks watching. The oil extraction one is a myth. They're dropping it about 75 miles too short of where the Bakken's currently even pumping at. The other thing is to get this credit, it needs to be put into the ground and left there. Once it is at its final destination, they literally can't do anything with it if they want the tax credit. So, like, if they were running it all the way out to the Bakken for extraction, by all means, like, if it's producing natural resources for the state, but literally they're dumping it into porous rock way too far away for it to be used for fracking. And I'm not supporting CO2, period. So, but those are a couple things that I've heard too, Larry, was where they're being told, oh, well, they're going to use it for pulling oil, or, oh, they're going to do this with it. But realistically speaking, it's not going to see the Bakken. And that's one of those misconceptions that is being spread around. And it's concerning to me. So, sorry, I've done a lot of work on the CO2 stuff. So,
And
that's
why
awesome.
is that?
And thank you for that, Marvin. I really appreciate you doing all that work.
So,
And why is that? And it's because that it does not work. They have better results with the resources that they have there in the Bakken to help with the oil production than CO2.
my biggest concern about all this is they're running it across counties all the way across southeastern North Dakota, running it across a river, dumping it out on the western half of the state, where it's literally going to do nothing other than sit there and fester. But everybody's focused on this land grab. Nobody's talking about the fact that not a single one of our rural counties is going to have the proper equipment to deal with the line break. They're not going to have the proper safety equipment. They're not going to have the proper respirators. They're not going to have the proper response time to get there to stop this stuff. And yeah, I know they have blow off and check valves, but I don't know if you've seen the video of a pipeline actually popping. Those check valves aren't going to do a thing.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, they're every 25 miles and it busts open like a zipper. I mean, you can't stop it.
And the equipment itself is god awful expensive. So I want to know, if you guys are elected and you get this chance to sit and talk with Summit, like, are they paying for the equipment for every one of these counties? Are they taking the liability? Because I mean, Trent Luce did a couple great articles about insurance companies dropping people's insurance because of the pipeline. Like, are they taking the liability for that? Is that going to be something that's reflected back on the state because our Public Service Commission's taken away county rights? Like, you guys got a lot of work to do, and that's for sure.
Well,
We do.
I think one of the first steps we can do, I know it wasn't successful this last session, but I know that that some of our legislators proposed legislation to pull the CO2 carbon pipelines out of the Century Code, which gave the protections of a public utility. We need to rally behind that, and with that action in itself will eliminate this eminent domain process, this seizure of people's property. So I think that is probably one of the first steps that we could really make an impact on to kind of derail this and turn this around. You know, obviously we want to take, you know, a multifaceted approach at doing this, but you know, I guess we could do the best it can with the tools that we have.
Okay, so sorry about that.
We have a comment here. It says, my concern is that the CO2 pipeline is nothing but a boondoggle. It's a lie created to rob taxpayers and taking landowners' property rights away. There is no noble reason behind this sham. I would agree.
So I got two numbers for you.
I would agree, Patrick. Very good comment.
Yeah, I got two numbers for you guys all to remember once you're elected. 3822. 3822 is the chapter of North Dakota Century Code that is carbon capture. That's where you need to focus if you guys really want to be looking at carbon, is 3822. Eminent domain's one part of it, but this has been on our books since, I believe, 2009 is when the entire chapter was created. They've modified it just tiny bits, but where they focused after they created it was, like we found out the other day, where the PSC now the state can override county will. So like, that's stuff that we need to fix, because Jason, as you probably understand, I mean, your township's supposed to be your most powerful form of government.
Yeah.
And we're watching those layers get stripped away. So that's a big area to start with, is the restoration and the balance. So,
Definitely.
Sorry, I'm a little fired up on CO2.
Well,
everybody is. It's ridiculous.
This is a big issue. I mean, you know, think about what they've done under the name of climate change and CO2. I mean, we've got solar panels, we've got wind generators. The manufacturers are pushing for EV units, electrical vehicles, and now we're supposed to push CO2 into the ground, all of which are government subsidized, and all of it has been done with the climate change hoax and villainizing CO2. It's a matter of waking up the population to how important CO2 is to our environment. We don't need less of it; we need more of it.
Yep.
So Larry, as part of the automotive industry, I don't know if you guys at your shop have done the math, but we've done it a couple times. The world lithium supply, which is used to make those batteries, if they were to replace every car with an electric unit tomorrow, we'd completely deplete the supply of lithium. So,
well, that doesn't surprise me,
nice.
but here's what I believe the wake-up call is going to come. As you know, they are selling some electric vehicles. I do know that the production goals of General Motors are not even close to what they anticipated. There's a year ago in June, the available day supply of electric units in this country was 30 days. And 13 months later, the available day supply is over 100 days. And the data that I'm hearing, that trade-in vehicles, EVs that are traded in, sit on a dealer's lot for average of over a year. But here's where the party ends. For example, right now, our base EV unit is called a Chevrolet Bolt, B-O-L-T. The car retails for somewhere between $32,000 and $35,000. The cost to replace that, or the cost of that battery, not including labor, the cost of that battery is just shy of $20,000, $19,600. Now, when that car, the party's going to end when these people trade in these EV units and these batteries are no longer under warranty. And as a dealer, I do appraisals every day. I get an EV unit that comes in with a questionable battery. There's no way I can put any significant money in it. I literally am going to be looking for a scale to weigh the darn thing, because there's no way you can throw $20,000 or even try to, to remarket that thing. People, this party's going to end in a hurry. I'm telling you, it isn't going to take but 5 years. And these electric cars are literally products for the wealthy. And the other big thing that I don't think many people understand, that these batteries need to operate under a certain operating temperature. So what essentially happens in our climate, and even in the hot climates, but particularly in our climates, the batteries are jacketed, and they will use their own energy to heat or cool themselves. So if you have, let's say you had an EV unit and you didn't have a heated garage, that vehicle will be using electrical energy throughout the night, just sitting there trying to keep itself warm. Mm-hmm. So imagine a dealer's lot with a line full of EV units sitting out on the lot, needing constant
in the winter
charge. It'd be like Chevy Chase on Christmas vacation plugging his Christmas lights. I mean, literally, it'll brown the town out.
Yeah.
But, and EV in North Dakota, like a bunch of the different manufacturers and it's out there do not operate in temperatures in excess of 0 or below, keep stored or garage. So like we see that. I got a buddy that's got a Tesla and he bought it secondhand. But he said even like his battery life, once it gets cold out, it's cut almost down to half. And we live in North Dakota. It's pretty much 100 miles to anywhere once you get past city limits, if you know what I mean. So like you run into issues out on the road. That's not good for us as far as I'm concerned.
I think there's a great opportunity for recovery units.
Right. But if they get their way in Washington, those will be electric too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is. I think the American consumer, and particularly individuals in our state and our district, really do understand the CO2 boondoggle that we've been fed and the lies of that. I mean, I hate to use the word, sounds a little derogatory, but I call it fear porn. I mean, they've got us, a significant amount of the population believing that CO2 is the problem and why we deal with perceived climate change. And I say perceived because if you really dive into the evidence, I mean, it's ever changing and we're not experiencing anything abnormal at all.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think if they really want to cut down on pollution and they want to keep our vehicles running, what we really need to do on a Washington level, folks, is separate the oil companies and the automotive industry instead of having them work hand in hand.
Well, it boils down to Congress. I mean,
yeah.
They're the ones that are creating this Inflation Reduction Act should be called the Anti-Inflation Reduction Act. I mean, this literally codified this Green New Deal and a lot of these policies that we're experiencing now.
Yeah. Oh, Karisa, with what you guys do, we see like some tourism related stuff coming from your side because you're running for Senate, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So And like, I know CO2 is important for you, but you guys get to travel. That's awesome. So like, you see all the great corners of North Dakota, and I'd like to see something other than North Dakota legendary plastered everywhere. But that's a different animal.
Yeah.
But
So go ahead. I was just gonna say, if you guys had any closing statements or anything that you want your constituents to know about you, or
Well, I'd like to bring up one other subject
sure.
that I'd like to really tackle, given the opportunity, and that's the policies that have put into place to usher in a digital currency in our state. This is something we better pay attention to. And in fact, I believe we made a huge mistake. I believe it's House Bill 1082, which has ushered in this, and we stand to lose a lot of liberties if this is implemented. And I think that's going to be one of the first things I'm going to tackle, is to try to roll this back.
Actually, I do have a question about that stuff. 1082 is a prime example. So I talked to senators, I've talked to House representatives, and they were, quote unquote, misrepresented the bills by lobbyists. What's your guys' take going to be when it comes to lobbyists? Are you going to ignore them? Are you going to not deal with them? I mean, you really sound like your constituents are what matter to you, not who's trying to talk to you in a hallway at the Capitol.
I think that's the question of the day. I feel like I could speak for both Karisa and Jason.
I'm actually looking forward to standing up to them. I'm kind of interested in, being able to say no and tell, at this point, I feel like so many of these people that have been in like 30 years have some sort of connection somewhere. And I think the best thing that we're offering District 14 right now is a fresh start. We are fresh to it. We are not politicians. I don't even like being called a politician. I can't even believe I'm trying to be a politician, but I really do believe we're a team for the people, and we're going to look out for what's best for not just District 14, but North Dakota, because we all love this great state of North Dakota. And I mean, I moved here for freedom, and we sure have to keep it, because it's Minnesota is far beyond us, and we're very lucky with what we have right now, and we need to work very hard to protect it.
Yeah, we're beholden to nobody but our constituents, and we've traveled together, the three of us, and we've talked about this. That we are looking to join forces with the likes of Jeff Magrum and Jeff Halverson, and those that really have the fortitude and courage to stand up to the things that they know are wrong. And we're going to be right there.
Yeah, I agree with Larry. We're not doing this for power. We're not doing this for money. We cannot be bought. There is nothing that a lobbyist could tell us that would affect us. It's basically what we and our constituents think is right. And I also, with this central bank digital currency, a bill that's 100 pages long that the legislators don't even have time to read and vote on based off of a committee recommendation is ridiculous.
Yep.
That's the excuse everybody uses, is they want to go back to committee.
Yeah, or they didn't read it and the committee recommended it, and nobody's told them not to do it, so they did it. Well, if I was an electrician and I told the owner that I didn't put the wire nuts on because it was too much work, and I didn't think it needed to be done, and the house burned down, whose fault is that?
Right.
Perfect.
I love that analogy.
We're just going to need the lug nuts off the tires and send you out the way after we do a road test.
Yeah.
Hey, that happens sometimes.
Well,
I understand. Excuse me. I understand. Like last session, we had not over 900 bills that they had to go through. first off, that's a ludicrous amount of bills to deal with in 80 days. I don't know how that needs to be, how we can change that. I don't have the answers, but I do know I can definitely point out some problems.
With that,
Mhm.
I think about 150 to 200 of those bills were brought forward by agencies.
Right.
I know it's something that they were trying to address to limit. I think that they're trying to get it where an agency bill cannot be brought forward unless it has a legislator willing to carry it out of the gates. I have to double check and see if we got that passed or not. But yeah, the agency bills were ridiculous this last session.
Mm-hmm.
Karisa is kind of an unfair advantage from you guys because she's just kind of across town from Sue Ann here, so she's gonna have a study buddy right at home. But
I do. She's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
We're becoming friends already.
But with session going,
We decided to door knock the border. We're gonna just drive the border and door knock. She can go on one side of the road and I'll go on the other.
But with coming into session, you guys will have November for kind of organization. Are you going to kind of put together your own kind of, let's meet on Saturday afternoon when everybody's got some time and kind of go over bills, because they start pre-releasing those about a month ahead of time, so you can come in with a plan. It gets wild.
Well,
so,
we've
I
got
can handle it. I'm looking forward to wild.
Yeah. No, we have a lot to learn, but you know, the blessing is that we've kind of befriended some mentors, as you mentioned, and we're going to stay principally sound. I can promise you that.
Awesome. No, I'm excited. I'm excited to meet you guys. I'm excited to talk with you guys. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens moving forward here, because we hear so many of the established or already seated candidates are just skipping their conventions because, like your guys' district, you've been taken over by folks that are tired of it, and we all are. So I really honestly wish you the best of luck. You got a lot of miles ahead of you.
We're ready to work hard, Marvin. We really are.
Awesome.
We are. Thanks for having us on.
You bet. We appreciate your guys' time.
Well, let's pray that after Sunday that we'll be meeting you with a whole new focus on hitting the pavement and really reaching out to the communities.
Sounds good. So this
and anybody that lives in District 14, don't forget about the convention on Sunday.
Yeah,
we can use your votes.
District 14 convention, Sunday the 18th at Piper's Auction in Steele, North Dakota. The registration begins at noon. There will be lunch served at 1, and the convention will start at 2 p.m. So, well, guys, thank you very much for your time, and we look forward to.
And we have $20 dues.
$20 dues.
Perfect. Okay. You guys want to hang out for a second? Shilo and I are going to wrap here, and I'll catch up with you in a minute.
Sure.
Take care. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, we lost Larry. Anyway.
We lost Larry.
Shilo.
Yes.
Next 2 Tuesdays, we got Jim Bartlett on. Next week, Friday, folks, we're not going to have a show. Shilo's traveling. Our Tuesday show, we're not quite sure what we're doing yet, so just keep posted to the website and Facebook page. We'll let you guys know.
Bet.
I think as things are moving forward, we're going to see some wilder things happening. This may be District 14, may be another prime example, like District 30, like District 2, where the candidates are either skipping convention or when they don't win endorsement, still attempting to primary out the endorsed candidates. We're going on 3 election cycles of this, folks. If you believe in your candidates, meet them, talk to them, and go vote for them. I know the big frustration that I hear, that I still hear, is, well, does my vote really matter anyway?
Yep.
Absolutely it does. And the joke that I attach to it is, well, if you don't vote, somebody's going to vote for you. But if you believe in your candidates, show up at your endorsing conventions.
Mm-hmm.
Show up at the state convention. Get yourself on that list to be a delegate. And then show up at the polls in June. Because at the end of the day, if we don't show up, someone else will show up and do it for us.
And how's that been going for us? Not very good.
Hey, if we don't try, we may as well roll over now and die.
No, I mean, how is it gone for us letting other people do it?
Yeah.
It hasn't gone very good. Not
very good at all. So
yeah, that's all I can I back up 110% what you just said. It takes a lot to run for office, as even Marvin. I haven't done it at the state level or even at the House or Senate seat, but even doing school board and city, it's daunting. So I encourage everybody to get out and listen to the candidates and support who you think is going to do you the best job, because we can't keep going the way we're going now. It's unsustainable. It really is. And we need change. And we all can sit, whether it's on a show like this or at the local watering hole or at work. I mean, I have conversations at work all the time with coworkers, and to your point, Marvin, they're like, well, does it really count? I mean, we really kind of feel defeated. Yeah, well, I guess my response to that is get informed, start showing up to stuff. That's the only way that we're going to get it to turn around. How do you stop a bully? You punch them right in the mouth, right? You
Yep.
go right at them. Same thing here. If we want to turn our state around, this is what we need to do.
Yep.
Oh.
All right.
Well, I'll be looking for the announcements here on Tuesday's show. For Tuesday's show, Marvin and I will be speaking together here this weekend, and we'll make that decision here soon on what we're going to do. And at any rate, I appreciate you guys watching tonight with the District 14 candidates. If you're in District 14, make sure that you go out and support your candidates that you want there at your convention. It's at Piper's Auction. Registration's at noon. You got $20 dues. And there's lunch at 1, followed by the convention starting at 2. So with that, you guys have a blessed weekend, and we'll see you Tuesday.
Okay.